Greetings and welcome. I am so excited to welcome you to what was going to be today's Biz Info Zone show, but we're doing things a little differently today. Today, the Biz Info Zone is the sponsor of the Permission Movement show. And this is a special broadcast. It's a panel discussion focused on the subject of an upcoming book. But what we want to deliver to you from this panel discussion is how you can be in the space of giving yourself permission to be powerful. And we're going to give you 9 tips for living in your power. 9 of the co-authors of the book, Give Yourself Permission to Be Powerful, step into the spotlight right here with you to share their Shero's journey stories, or at least a piece of it, going from pain to powerful. You know, everyone has a story of failure, of success, of life, and these stories come in varied degrees of color and depth and pain. And, you know, one person's pain may be deeper than another, but that's okay because there comes a point when that pain no longer is your story. And that's you have given yourself permission to be powerful. And we're going to talk about that today because if you're someone that wants to be more successful, you want to make more money in your business and do more good in the world, you're in the right place. If your story is holding you back, here's a breakthrough opportunity for you. Each of the panelists of women in business on this panel will give their best and biggest tip to help you to rewrite and write a new story for 2015. You know, I was just thinking the other day that it's amazing. The whole 2014 year is about gone. But then I thought that is so exciting because a new year blossoms and it's waiting for us to do it differently than we did this year, to do it bigger, to do it better, to do it more purposeful, and to do it in the story that we choose. Nothing, not even failure, is something that should stop you or hold you back. And these ladies are going to tell you how they made it, how they've moved mountains, walked over them, chiseled through them, just however they did it. They want you to know that you can do the same. And with that, I want to say thank you to the Biz Info Zone show for sponsoring the Permission Movement show. My name is Zealand Hawkins. I'm one of the co-authors and the, I guess, brainchild of all of this madness, this wonderful madness. But I want you to be introduced to my friends and co-authors as we get into the 9 tips to put you in your power. So, hello, ladies. How are you today?
I'm great.
Hi there. All right, there you go. Well, this is an exciting day because I want those of us here to do a couple of things. The first of which is, you know, tell us a little bit, tell our audience a little bit more, a little bit about your journey from the place of pain that you saw yourself in at any given point in your past to standing in your power and serving entrepreneurs in such a powerful way today. Who wants to start?
I will.
Okay, there you go, Trish. This is Trish Sampson. Trish is owner of a business called My Coastal Muse. And Trish, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lynn. I guess my first tip about going from pain to power is when I was fearful at 18, pregnant and unwed. I took action, and I'll share with you how I changed my life from an 18-year-old mom on welfare to a girl with a graduate degree and a home and a business. And for me, this is about helping other unwed mothers.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that share about going from the pain of fear into the power of taking action and really taking your life by the reins and making as much as you have of it. Proud of you, girl. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, we've got Andrea Wolf, who is the owner of Ignite Your Fire business. Ignite Your Life.
Ignite Your Life.
She's an author and just an all-around a queen of having it all.
That's my name. Yes. So, so before I discovered the wonderful world I'm in right now as a coach for the last 20 years, I worked in the multinational corporate world, and I was truly a full-blown perfectionist. And no one could be harder on myself than I was, and there was a standard of excellence in everything, totally created by myself. And I mean, I was in this constant pushing experience. So it was really, you know, I worked crazy hours. I had no life. This may sound familiar to some of our listeners and viewers here. So really, you know, I was all about serving too in that context. And what it took was for me to like really notice what a perfectionist I was being, really get clear about, you know what, I really am just really perfect just the way I am. No need to become anything else, like that self-acceptance thing. And it was at exactly that moment that I discovered the field of coaching. So I say, which is the work I'm here on the planet to do. I've been doing it for the last 20 years. So there are no accidents. It was out of going from perfectionism to what I call recovering perfectionist, self-accepting, and then discovering the work I'm actually here on the planet to do. All connected.
Amazing. From the pain of perfectionism to the power of self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, why don't we do this? Vivian Knapp is in Chilliwack, Canada, and she is an amazing woman, having come out of the art world, owned her own art gallery. She's now doing something that's globally amazing as well, being an ESL teacher. So Vivian, why don't you tell us what's your journey?
Thank you for the nice introduction, Lynn. Well, it's been a long one. I came from a very traditional European upbringing. My parents escaped from the little country called Estonia in the 1940s. So I grew up in Victoria, BC on Vancouver Island, and what was a small Estonian diaspora. And I was the first of 3 daughters, and my father was, without question, the authority figure, which came into direct conflict with my rejection of the status quo that he had put on women, that he had inherited from his father and going back all these generations. So there was something missing in my life, and I did 1 year of university studying French, and then I decided at 19 to just cut the tie, cast off my lines, as they say. I do like to sail, so I often refer to sailing terms. I took my Samsonite luggage that I got as a graduation gift, and I headed for Paris. And it's been traveling ever since 1971. I stopped long enough to get 3 university degrees, and one of them is in English as a second language. And just to make a long story short, I went to Estonia in 1990 when it was the last year it was a Soviet Union. And yes, indeed, I started an art gallery. But my main pain was always trying to get the approval from my father, who now just turned 90. And I gave that up a long time ago. I carried it on my back like a backpack full of rocks, and realized that it doesn't matter what I do, whatever his reasons are, I don't need this approval because I'm still doing it anyway. But it's taken me 40 years to come to terms with this. So I just want to kind of share my insights in terms of what it took to get to this point in my life.
And you have come from the pain of the shame that your father put over you to really having your voice and feeling the you that you are, and using your voice and teaching that through the ESL. That's amazing. Thanks, Vivian. Let's go to Margaret. Margaret Vieira is in Silicon Valley, California, in Morgan Hill, and she's a real estate broker, teaching women how to maximize investing in real estate. Exciting. Margaret, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So, so my journey comes from, or at least the most recent pain, as most can figure out, is from the recent recession and the housing downturn. And so the lesson there is that you can't just go the status quo. You have to always be vigilant and looking forward, because there were signs that that was coming, and I ignored them, and that was devastating to my company, my business, my real estate holdings, and so coming back from that, very painful. But you pull up your bootstraps and you go. But there are lessons to be learned there, and I like sharing those lessons because I think we can all learn from them.
That's amazing. Thank you. That's a great story, from the pain of loss to the power of forward thinking and the value in planning. That's beautiful. Why don't we go to Susan? You're up next.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Susan Davis, and I live in the Silicon Valley, the San Francisco Bay Area, California. And I have always been an entrepreneur from the very get-go in high school, and probably even before that. But in high school, I had a babysitting business, and that's what I did for 4 years. As transitioning into college, I have a degree in fine art, and it was in college, my first semester, end of my first semester, that I met my husband, and that was over 40 years ago, 45 years ago, a long time ago. And so we started traveling our path together, and that was really kind of the first aha for me as to how important it is to be in relationships, that everything is about relationships. It's not about me all by myself doing something, anything, whether it's a business or building a family or anything. It's about relationships and connection. And so going from the view of me to we is really, really important to me. It's also been sort of the story that has been my life as an entrepreneur, and really focusing on the Aristotle's quote, "The whole is greater than the sum of its parts." Having a team and really facilitating a powerful co-creative team where everyone has gifts, everybody gets to give what they have and get what they need for the benefit of the whole and the benefit of the individual. And so that is really has been my story. And the story, of course, has ups and downs. I mean, when you're with your partner for 45 years, of course there are ups and downs. And when you own businesses, I've built some very profitable businesses that my last one lasted over 20 years with my husband. And we had a team of employees and subcontractors and consultants and people that we really, really relied on to build the success of our company. And it failed after 20 years. We lost it. We lost everything. But what that did was that really allowed me to look at the journey and identify what it was that made success. And what it was the team. And what it was going from me to we, and really focusing on not being alone, not trying to do things alone, that to do things with other people is really where success happens.
Thank you. Yes, from me to we, the power of team. Wow, amazing. Yvonne, looks like you're up.
Oh, great.
And
Hi, Lynn.
One of our co-authors who lives in the UK. And she's got an amazing story, which you will find out more about in her book. But she moves in some pretty powerful circles right now. So, Yvonne, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your journey?
Sure. Well, I'm an international speaker. I'm in Holland next week for a 5-day program, so I'll be on stage for about 12 hours a day, which is really tiring. I'm an author and a coach, and I work with entrepreneurs who want to create a business that's really personal, rewarding for them. You know, it's based on their expert knowledge and their experience. So what I do is I help them find their message, I help them find their voice, and I help them to uncork their inner charisma. So I help them speak out in all sorts of ways, on and offline. And my own story is I've personally been speaking in public since I was 13. So we're looking at 30 plus years now. Despite the fact that really until recently I would have described myself as being shy. But now that when I started looking at shyness, shyness is painful. It's based on fear and fear of being judged. And so I was thinking that doesn't really fit me. I don't fit that definition. And so recent years, what I've really come to realize is that I'm actually a classic introvert, which simply means it's where I get my energy. I get my energy from silence, and I get very stressed out from too much stimulation. So I know I have to change things in how I prepare for next week, as an example. So, I mean, maybe realizing it was not the right word. I guess I've always known that I was an introvert, but I have most of my adult life put on the more acceptable face of being an extrovert, because the majority of the population are extroverts, 30 to 50% are introverts. But now that I've learned to accept that, I have learned that I really need to adapt my business to suit my temperament. And I help people find their charisma, and that, you know, there is such a thing as quiet charisma. And so that's what I'm doing now. I'm developing that idea further so I can work with my clients to help them create their business that shares their special gifts, but also that helps them grow in a way that actually suits their personality.
Beautiful. From shyness to through awareness to charisma, and teaching entrepreneurs how to let their inner charisma blossom. I love that. When I first heard that, I just knew that Yvonne and I were going to do some big things together. Let's see, Wendy. One of my other favorite people. All of these women are just so amazing. Wendy is an intuitive and a healer and so many other beautiful things, and she's developed what's called the Waku. So she's now being called Wendy Waku, or Waku Wendy. So Wendy, let's get you on screen here to answer this question. Tell us your journey.
Thank you, Lynn. The journey from the pain of blame and judgment, and then finding purpose and truth. Some of us may go through the thing of always questioning ourselves, questioning what we're doing. Once you make a decision, re-questioning whether the decision is the right one to do, doubting yourself, and second-guessing yourself. And I was there. I spent many years helping others and working to make their life what I thought they wanted it to be, instead of silencing all the negative mind chatter and seeking my own body's wisdom and then trusting the wisdom that I was given. And being able to do those steps and walking in the wisdom and trusting it and having faith that it's there, it allows me to help the individuals that I come across in business and in their personal lives, and helps them find the truth and trust the truth that they know.
Beautiful. Yes, from blame and judgment to the power of purpose and truth. You know, we all have that conversation around standing in your truth, and you can't stand in what you don't know. So finding that is key. Thank you. Well, let me just say, we had one other co-author who was going to be a part of this, who is away on business. But I want to introduce you to her because her message is so powerful. Her name is Kimberly Burnham, and as she was growing up as a young girl, she was diagnosed with an ocular disease that was going to basically render her blind. And she tells her story of going from the pain of inevitable blindness to not only curing that, to being in a place of seeing so much more in her life, in the world, in her clients. She's now a doctor that specializes in the eye. And her story is just amazing as well. All of our co-authors' stories are amazing. There are 20 of us, and you're just hearing from 9. So we've got more ahead for you to partake in. And to kind of wrap this up for us, because then I picked her to go last in particular, for a particular reason, because of her story and her message. And I'd like to bring Cynthia Gardner O'Neill into the spotlight and have her to tell us a little bit about her and her journey. She's actually, if I may say so, an amazing gifted healer in her own right. She's the owner of the Center for Loving Consciousness, and she has gotten into the space of emotional intelligence and has devised a methodology of helping people understand themselves by their heart. And it's called Harmonics. And I wanted to tell you more about her journey from where she was to this powerful space of Harmonics. Cynthia, are you there?
I am, and thanks so much for that introduction. Also, I'm not going to be showing myself, but you guys are going to feel my heart here, and I'm going to connect with all yours. And, you know, my story is what you brought me in to speak about also is from pain, unforgiveness to love. And I know a lot about this. When I grew up, when I was a kid, my father died when I was 7. And my mother remarried later, and a man married her for the money from my father's death. And during that time, he also raped and sexually abused me, and I was beaten went through that for 4 years of my life, just about every day, and except for when I was sick. And so during that time, I had many illnesses, pneumonia, strep, bronchitis, and then at one time, I got strep in my blood and my bones, and I was paralyzed for a while during that time. And I found during that time what that did for me is it actually protected me. Illness was a protection for me in order for when I was sick, the abuse stopped. And when I got to be around 15, 16 years old, there was a time that was a turning point for me when he was in the house and he took my mother and put her up against the wall, and I get really emotional when I talk about this. And I just saw her dangling in there in the kitchen, and I stood up for myself, and I went in with my fist clenched, and I looked at him, and I said, "Put her down." And he looked at me and said, "Are you talking to me?" Because after all these years, I had never stood up or never did anything to change anything. And in that moment, it empowered me. You know, there was a lot that happened after that, but it empowered me to really, at that age, young age of 15, 16 years old, to say, it's time for change. And I walked out, and my father was a paleontologist geologist before, you know, I was with him till I was 7 years old, and he used to take us camping and into the wilderness of Colorado. And so when I left that home, I changed my environment, and I went to the mountains, and I started my life over up there. And it was amazing how my who I was changed because I changed my environment, and I put myself in a positive place where I found love. And but during that time, there's still a lot of things that affected me because I hadn't let go and forgave what had happened to me, and I held on to that for a very long time. And your heart will keep bringing up to conscious awareness old unforgiven feelings and memories for you to forgive, release, and let go. And as you sincerely try to forgive, it helps to remember that mentally and emotionally processing an unforgiving event drains you. just like a car battery gets drained when the door is left open. So there was something that really came up for me after a while about forgiveness. And there was a quote I made because I was helping someone out about themselves because they were hurting themselves so bad by not forgiving someone for doing something that it took her energy out all the time, and she was only hurting herself. And I recognized that within myself. And one of the things I said was, forgiveness will breathe new breath into thy life and clarity restored. And so during this time, I really recognized my heart was connecting with my father, who had transitioned. In fact, his love was what helped me through the trauma of my childhood and gave me the empowering opportunity to walk away from the negativity and all the trauma and to be connected with that. And I'm also an empath, an intuitive healer, so I feel people's hearts. And our hearts are what is the central communication center for every single one of our cells. And everything begins in the heart, not the brain. And our heart feeds the brain. We feel first before we think. So pain can be so deep within our hearts, and we have to harmonize them because they are, there's that coherency. We are always healthy, whole, and complete. So it's really important for us to create that coherency in our heart, and how we do that is to forgive. I mean, they're showing all kinds of studies and data about forgiveness, taking people out of illness and disease and going through healing just from allowing themselves to let go and to release themselves from that energy pattern that's been created there. So I like to say, let's start changing the daily ow with forgiveness and transform it into the daily wow, into the love that we have in our hearts.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And, that's why we're doing this. Because 20 of us saw an opportunity to help make a difference in the world by not just sharing our own story, but helping those of you who are watching today who are going to take this journey with us in what we're calling the permission movement. And just imagine allowing yourself to write your own story of the future that you'd like to have. Can you imagine what it would feel like to understand how the pain of your past has actually been the fuel for you standing where you are today and knowing where you want to go tomorrow? It's the power of who you are and giving yourself permission to release the pain, to recognize the past is what it is tomorrow. Today is what it is. Today is your present for what tomorrow brings. And, if you are in a place and you know that rewriting your story has huge value, but you don't exactly know how, I'm going to just poll our co-authors here and ask, how can being aware of your past allow you to create your future? And I think each one of you has some really quick tidbit that you can give us. And this isn't even the 9 tips. So our audience is really getting some massive gifts here. But how can being aware of your past and creating your future from a conscious level just be the light of a new day, a new year, as we're moving into 2015? And let me start with Trish. Why don't you start?
Sure. Thank you. I think as I look back, fear has always been there anytime I took action, stepped outside my comfort zone. And a funny thing happened on the way to the park. After I took action and did it, I found out, hey, you know what? I was pretty good at that after all. So fear in itself is really only has the power you give it. And I think that's my tip for the day too. It's fear only has the power that you will give it. And at this point in time, New Year's coming, it's a great time to rewrite your story. It's one of my favorite times of year because everything becomes new, and all your mistakes and all the past, that's all done. All new stuff, all good stuff. And Happy New Year to all of you.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Andrea, tell us about the value of rewriting your story.
This is my favorite topic. So, I am an author, speaker, and coach, and the juicy center of what I do and what I'm about is the being in the now. So, in my travels over the last 20 years, doing what I do, loving every minute of it, here's my experience of most people. They're either focusing in the past and holding on to it, which keeps them out of creating, out of being powerful in their life because they're holding on to the past. Thinking is past-based. Or they're worrying about the future or projecting out all the what-ifs that can absolutely be mind-numbing and just paralyze you. So if you really think about it, there is only this moment right now. The place to create from is this precious moment right now. And to quote myself from my book, here's my assertion. You always have choice, and where you always, always, always have choice is how you choose to react to what's showing up in your life. So from that place, if you always have choice, then you can always create powerfully in the now that which it is that you really, really want in your life. And I assert that you can have it. You really can have it. This is the work I do with people. Sometimes people ask me, like, what are you taking? And nothing. I'm not on anything. It is always possible if you believe it's so. So creating in this precious moment right now is the recipe for success.
Thank you. Great, great. So let's move to Vivian. What is your take?
I really relate to this concept of the hero's journey. We see a lot of that in publications these days. And because I've been living in different countries, I don't rewrite. I just add a new volume because I've worn a lot of different hats. As you mentioned earlier, I had an art gallery in Estonia for 10 years. So if we start off at that point, there was a lot of fear in that country, okay, after 50 years of communist occupation. And only when I went so-called back to my roots, my so-called roots, did I understand the fear that my parents and people like my parents brought to this new country that they had to learn how to live in. As a child, I didn't obviously realize that. I spoke Estonian until I was 6, and as soon as I started school, kids learn English really quickly. So I've always straddled two cultures. So I've kind of had this sort of, not identity crisis, but I guess that's why I took off at 19 to figure out who I am, because I was torn from one world to the other world. When I was at home, I wasn't supposed to speak English because my parents were trying to maintain the Estonian culture. So I'm always adding volumes. And what I wanted to bring up was this divine family that Caroline Meese mentions, where we have these archetypes, and there's some main archetypes, and one of them is the saboteur. That's my predominant archetype. That archetype comes in there inevitably, guaranteed. No, you can't do that. You're doing it wrong. There's something about you that you're different and you're doing it differently. You're doing it wrong. And believe me, I got a lot of that in Estonia when I started an art gallery because I was a capitalist. So I did it the Western way. Got a lot of criticism the first few years I was there. I was visited by the mafia and all that good stuff. But I had the gallery for 10 years, and I sold it in 2009 to the girls who had stuck it out with me. So there are 3 owners now who have been running that gallery since I left. So next year, that would be 20 years that gallery was started. It's also a picture framing business. So I guess my little tip here is there's always that archetype Find out who that main archetype or the main archetypes are in there, because there's a bright side to it. There's a positive side. It's a message. If that negative shadow is coming and saying you're doing this wrong or that wrong, stop and examine it for a minute. Flip it over. Look at the head side of the coin, because there's another message on the other side that's going to be your tool. And have confidence in yourself. And on this hero's journey, there's going to be mentors, there's going to be your allies, and there's going to be enemies. So learn to differentiate, and don't let the negative side get you down, because there's a flip side to it. Always, always.
Thank you. I love the hero's journey that I affectionately now call the Shero's journey. But let's go on to Margaret. What's your take on writing a new story?
Well, what I like to help people understand is that no matter what you've been through, everything that we do go through just builds us. It's part of our experiences. It's part of what makes us whole and what makes us unique. And so that uniqueness, whether we choose to stay in that, we should always be in growth and being able to decide, okay, is this the way I want things to be today, or what is it I don't like, and what do I want to change, and what do I want the picture to be like? But everything we do, everyone around us brings new experiences and creates this person that we are, our dreams, our visions, our experiences, our character. We get a lot of character building in this life, and so and everyone I talk to and meet has something to offer. And I love these other authors. I'm so excited to hear bits and pieces, and I'm really excited to see the book that we're putting out, because I want to read everybody's story in here.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying. There are some amazing stories. Really, really. All right, let's go to Susan. Give us your take. Rewriting your story or writing a new story.
Well, I like the idea. Everything that everyone has said now, I so totally agree with, and I get so excited hearing people talk about how their story has affected their life and how they use that to help other people with their mentoring or their coaching and moving forward. And I think that the value of looking at our life as a story is really huge. And it's like a story with chapters. And the chapters, or the volumes, like Vivian said, build on one another. There's challenges that happen. I mean, any good story, any good hero's journey, the hero is confronted with challenges, and sometimes pretty amazing challenges to overcome. And if we look at our life that way, and we look at each chapter as building on the next, we don't have to really rewrite it. We can just create it as something new and something better for ourselves and for all of those people who our life touches.
Beautiful. Creating that new, better chapter that's what we want to do. And sometimes people just don't know how. And we've got solutions for it all that we want to offer up. But Yvonne, tell us what your take is.
Well, I just think the autumn, as it still is in the UK, winter I think it is over there for a lot of you, is a really perfect time to regenerate, reflect. I mean, nature is happening all over. And it's only through a bit of reflection that it's possible to rewrite your story. But then again, maybe you don't need to. Maybe you're in a really good place right now. Or maybe you just have that niggling feeling that, you're ready for some kind of change. Maybe you're in pain and that, things must change for you. But wherever you're at, there's some key questions to really ask yourself about what's happened to you in the past year, so that you can then take that forward. As Andrea said, you can see where you are at now and take that forward. So, asking yourself things like, what happened this year? Why did it happen if there's a reason for it? What worked for me? What didn't work? And how did I feel when those things happened? What didn't work? How did I feel when things didn't work? Really, what did I learn in this past year? And from what I've learned, what chapter has been added into my story, how can I change the things that didn't work so that maybe it works next time? Or, what's stopping me from making the changes that I want to make next year? Or what will help me? So, these questions for me are really key because they help identify areas that maybe made people feel uncomfortable this year, or maybe caused pain or caused joy. I mean, we want to celebrate the good things, of course, as well, and try to continue those on. And then you can rewrite your story, and you can stop being a pseudo extrovert. You can, release your perfectionism, forgive yourself, forgive others, and really move forward. So, being objective when answering those kind of questions, except the ones about the feelings, of course, really help you focus on the positive energy that can take you into the next year. And being charismatic and owning a charismatic business and living a charismatic life is all based on how you focus your energy.
Beautiful. Well said. I can't say enough about really knowing the possibilities from everything from, growing your heart of love to the charisma that you live and walk in every day. Wendy, let's get your take on it.
Rewriting your story. We all have a past. We all hopefully live in our present. And we all have a future of dreams and desires. Rewriting your story for myself, especially when looking in the past in order to release that and move forward, it's finding the blessing. As I believe we've all heard from each co-author on here today, we've taken situations that could have defeated any one of us and found a way to move past it into the power or the blessing of what was given. So to me, it's finding the blessing in the past. It's finding the gratitude and the thankfulness right now in this very present moment. Even if it's snowy and cold and it's the fact that you're warm inside or you've got a big warm blanket. Whatever gratitude you can find, and mentally saying and thinking, thank you, or saying it out loud. In our future, it's taking your dreams, our desires, and feeling them, seeing them, hearing them, smelling them, touching them now, today, when we can step into what is possible in the future and see it as a positive. Do the what if up instead of the what if it doesn't work. What if this is the very best thing that could ever possibly happen right now to you and those around you? So for me, rewriting your story is about finding the blessing and the gratitude and being very thankful for what you have in your life.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I'm a person who lives in a state of gratitude. Just the blessings are so amazing. The blessings of having each and every one of you and the other 9, 10 co-authors as part of this project, which the project is so amazing. I'll get into that in just a moment. Right now, we're here with 9 of the 20 co-authors of the Permission to Be Powerful book, and we're talking about rewriting your story or writing a new story. And Kimberly Burnham would be up next, talking about the going from the power or from the pain of blindness to the power of sight. And I won't presuppose what she would say right now, but I can tell you for me, I think that that is actually a great metaphor for the journey that many of us find ourselves on at some point, having been blind and walking through the fog of life, allowing things to happen to you or just not being as in control as you could have been or would like to have been. And then you wake up one day and it's kind of like you got your sight back. and you can stand in a more powerful place and do more powerful things. And like Andrea said, and I love this, part of it is really knowing that you can have all of the good that you desire in your life. And so with that said, I'm going to go and ask this question about writing your new story or rewriting your story. And sometimes to erase the pain means that you really do have to go through the exercise of rewriting your story. But Cynthia, give us your take on the story piece here.
Well, as far as rewriting the story, I recently have been writing my story in a book called Altered Innocence, and it just brings in information about harmonics and our change of heart. And one of the things that came to me upon writing this book was an agreement that we're all born with. And the agreement is to receive what life has to give and to transform it into something better. Why? Because you can. And I've heard every single one of these authors here in this rewriting your story saying the same thing, and about making things better and seeing life in a new way and transforming it. So I really think that's one of our main things about living here in this life. When we're born into the challenges of life. And there's a great story I love to share about our challenges and what they bring us is the blessings and more power to us as far as living our lives more fully within our hearts. And
I'm looking at the time, and I would love for you to share that story, but I want our audience to know that we are going to do these hangouts on a periodic basis.
Yeah.
And so we will have more of an opportunity to have this kind of discussion with you, our co-authors, and our audience. So maybe that's a great story to hold on to, because again, I'm watching the time and I know what else we have to do here. And I really want our audience to know that it is from the love that each of us has for what we have come to understand our purpose in life is, and the love of others, that we have decided together to co-create something that's called the Permission Movement. And it's actually a global nonprofit literacy project called Permission to Win. Our book, the Permission to Be Powerful book, will be turned into a study guide and a leader guide for the benefit of small groups of girls and women to study, so that these groups will then have the opportunity to not only hear some of the conversation, well, actually they'll see more of the conversation that we have written in our chapters that really describe going from the pain of everything that you've heard here today to standing fully in our power today. And we're going to do that over the course of the next few months, actually. And we invite you to join us, because the Literacy Project is, as I mentioned, a nonprofit enterprise and endeavor. And these small groups of women are going to be, here's some of these groups of girls and women that we want to impact. There are girls aging out of foster care and confused about the life ahead of them. There are girls being released from juvenile detention and who are of age and fearful of returning into a society and a lifestyle they once knew. These are women who are transitioning from behind prison walls, who are re-entering society and unclear about societal expectations. Not to mention, there's a limited supply of the tools that they themselves have gotten before being released back into society. These are women who want to help women who've suffered from abuse and trauma and questioning really what life has to offer them. These are women leaving the military who are faced with the fear of success and the fear of failure, because their world on the outside looks so different now than it did when they had enlisted. I mean, we are, if they've been in the service for 2 years or 4 years or 10 years, the world outside of the military is so different now than it was in the past. And what we anticipate doing is having this study guide crafted so that it can bring the best parts of each of these chapters out into something that these girls and women can use. And this isn't the only groups that we're looking for. We're actually doing the movement to touch so many groups, church groups, YWCAs, groups all around the world that I can't fathom to name right now. But the way that we meet, we're asking for your help. Help us to do this. Help us by being involved in the permission movement. Help us by being involved in what's coming up in the permission movement. And that is the permission movement experience. Going from pain to powerful. And it is really going to be an extended training teaching you how to rewrite your story to live your powerful life. In this experience, we're actually bringing this experience to women entrepreneurs to experience how to, number one, recognize the pain of the past and release it. See how when you don't know what you don't know, you can't do what you desire to do. It really is a brain thing. It's a heart thing. The heart also has a brain. We want you to learn to write and begin to live a new story, not only in your life, but in your business as well. We're going to have presenters who are going to teach you about mindset, about the story. We've got one of my favorite story crafters who actually has gone to the root of understanding story from not only a life perspective, but a business perspective. This alone is worth the value of the time to be in the sessions and learn about story and story leverage. We're going to teach you the vortex model of doing business. We're going to teach you about the medicine wheel. This is something that actually in the last 3 or 4 years I've just come to really understand and hold in my heart as a place of power by knowing the medicine wheel. And we want you to be a part of this and experience this. You know, it could be another summit, it could be another seminar, it could be another workshop. It's much more than that. Because of our vision of what this will bring to women and girls globally who will be part of this outreach project, the Permission to Win Literacy Project. And we truly are asking for your help and inviting you to come and play with us. Now, ladies, we're wrapping up, and I want to tell people how they can find out more information about this, and it starts with going to our website and signing up on our mail list. And you can get there at www.permissionmovement.org. And there you will see just a snippet of what we've started with our website and where we're headed, because this outreach program is the first of many to come. And I want to kind of toss the ball back to our co-authors here and really ask you to, you know, in 1 or 2 words, just remind our audience what your tip for power, living in your power. You know, we're delivering 9 tips for living in your power, and I want you to just take a 30 seconds apiece and remind us what your tip is for living in your power. Trish had to step away for a moment, but she says her tip is fear only has the power you give it. And I say just kick it out the door. And if it does show up, just make it stand aside. So let's see. I'm Andrea. What's your tip?
My tip is this. You're amazing. Embrace your magnificence. Just totally embrace it and shine in the world. The world is waiting for you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Vivian, we're going to go to you.
My tip is always follow your intuition. Never ignore it.
Beautiful. And Margaret, you're up.
My tip is that everything around you is in constant change. And so you should always be open to that change, open to the doors. Henry Ford said it best. He said, sometimes we stare too long at the door that is closing, that we see too late the door that was open.
Yeah.
Ah, beautiful. Susan, your tip.
My tip is go from me to we, that you don't have to be alone, that it's really about connection and relationships and honoring everyone's gift so that the whole benefits, and then you'll benefit too.
Beautiful. Wendy, you're up. I'm
Find
sorry,
the blessing.
Yvonne. I'm sorry, Yvonne. I'm looking at Yvonne, clicked on Yvonne and said Wendy.
I'd say look at your personality, who you are, and if you're, and check to see that if your life and work are a comfortable fit with that personality. And if it's not, give yourself permission to share the charisma that's within you, which is the real, the authentic you. It's the person who flubs up in front of audiences, because that's when people really fall in love with you. And that's when everything will fall into place, when you make sure that you're comfortable with who you are and how you live and how you work.
Beautiful. Thank you. Now, Wendy.
I will go back. Thank you. To find the blessing, give yourself permission to look even at tragedies in a different viewpoint and find the benefits that are there, even if the others don't.
Wonderful. And Cynthia, your tip.
Here we go. I'm back in. I say get out of your head and into your heart, because your heart is so much wiser than your brain. So feel your heart. We feel first before we think.
Fabulous. Ladies, I want to thank you, and I'd like to leave the audience with my tip. My tip is go to our website, www.permissionmovement.org. Join the movement. Be with us over the next few weeks as we talk about the Permission Movement experience and how you can learn a new way to write your story, your future, your business story. We want you to have the most of everything that is good in the world. Andrew said it, she's the queen of having it all, and you can have it all too. Join us, play with us, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future. Thank you for joining us today. My name is V. Lynn Hawkins. I'm one of the co-authors of Give Yourself Permission to Be Powerful, because you are. And with that, ladies, we are concluding the show, but I would like to invite those of you who are here to hang around with us, because we're going to talk about just our particular positions on what the Permission Movement experience means and why you should join us there. Now, we are at the top of the hour, and we've concluded the Permission Movement show. But we are now going to do little takeaways from what the Permission Movement experience is going to be. And let me just give our audience an opportunity to hear a little more about that. It is going to be a virtual experience. It's going to be delivered over the course of 9 weeks. We are going to have 3 to 4 presenter experiences each week. You will have the opportunity to get tremendous trainings. You'll see interviews. You'll see panel discussions. You'll see so many things that are a part of this that make it so different from a regular summit or seminar. And it really is going to be about teaching you how to write a new story. We're going to learn story leverage. We're going to learn the components of the story that every Hollywood film master has mastered, that they have kept so close to the vest. And the people who figured it out are the people who have garnered the most success in life. And we want to bring that to you so that you can get the formula for making your life the best it can be. And we want to make it an easy yes for you as well. We're going to have the sales page up shortly. That's why we want you to go to permissionmovement.org, fill out the form, get yourself added to our mailing list so that we can find you, and we will find you, to make sure that you have the information to not only participate yourself but to share with others. We made it an easy yes of an investment of only $147. You're going to walk away from this with so much. The live sessions, video recordings, audio recordings, transcripts, the cheat sheets and the strategies and the tips all outlined for you as and bonus gifts. Bonus gifts galore. So pay attention to the information that we'll be sharing with you. And let me get back to this price point here. You know, we wanted to make this so possible for you that we've got 3 ways that you can choose to pay this $147. And it's really amazing because we're gonna show all of this to you, but keep this in mind. One way is $0 today and no payments for 6 months, no interest, and that's through PayPal's Bill Me option. The other is pay $10 today and $77 every 30 days for 2 months. And the third way is, of course, you can pay the whole $147 and just get it done. But we've added something that's going to be such a massive opportunity for you, because we've also put on the sales page the opportunity for you to make an additional donation of any amount. You set the amount, the donation comes in, and it goes to the outreach program. That donation will help us to get these books out there and to get girls and women to have some of the tools that many of you, in fact, will be exposed to over the next several weeks. So make sure you go to www.permissionmovement.org, sign up, and you'll be getting some information that will give you all the details that we're talking about here. And now I want to go back to my co-authors, and I want to say, ladies, would you like to say anything to our audience about the upcoming Permission Movement Experience event? And
Yes.
if so, just chime right in. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I do. Andrea.
All right.
So here's what I know about you. I know 2 things, and we haven't met yet. So one is there's something that you want different in your life, or you want to learn something that you've heard here. So you've come to the right place for that. This is absolutely what's going to happen, what you're going to experience, and what you're going to receive. The second thing I know about you is that you want to make a difference in the world. How do I know that? Because it's who each and every one of us co-authors is. It's definitely who Lynn is. And so if you think of each of us as magnets on the planet, you're here because you've been attracted here, because this is your home. You found a new home here in this wonderful community. So come help us make a difference in the world. Come join this movement. You're going to have an absolute blast here. Welcome.
Thank you. Beautifully said. So who'd like to chime in next?
Well, I would just say that, you know, you were born with charisma. Everyone was born with charisma, and that's why, you know, we look at babies and children with such awe, and they just attract our attention. And you know, somewhere along the line, though, you may have lost it. Someone may have stomped on it, but it's still there, and it's just waiting to come out of you. And what it really is it's the energy of who you truly are and who you want to be out there in the world. And with all of the experience of all of the ladies and all the trainers and all of the teachers that we have gathered together here, it's something that, you know, I think all of us are going to be taking bits and pieces from each other to help us become more of our authentic selves. And that's what it's about. And so I would love to see you here. I would love to have the opportunity to work with you, to play with you, to laugh with you, and with all of the group here as well. So just welcome and become a part of it, please.
Thank you. And who's next? Wendy, would you like to go next?
I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you. Backing up everything everyone has said already, it's absolutely amazing. But we do attract one another. And as we do that, we are each teachers and we are each students. So what we give to you, we also learn from you. And it's the energy of all of us together, all of the co-authors and everyone in the audience, that will make the workshop absolutely magnificent. And each and every person, even the co-authors, will pull out of that pieces that will benefit each of us. So come join us, have fun, come play.
Thank you. Susan.
It's so hard to follow all of these great things, but I think that this experience is an opportunity for people to experience co-creation. It is co-creation, and that there are so many gifted, wonderful co-authors and other guests that we will be having on this experience that it's beyond exciting. It goes toward the tagline for the co-creation community, which is co-create, communicate, ignite change together. And that's exactly what this experience will do for everyone who participates in it as audience or guests or participants or however you want to look at it. So it's exciting.
Thank you. Cynthia, would you like to say anything to our audience?
Yes, and just to bring in, you know, the first cell upon your birth is the embryonic heart cell, and it is the heartbeat, the signature sound of you. That sound of you is so important to this world. It contributes your love into this world, and we're all here waiting to feel that, and we feel you. And to learn what your value and worth is you would not be here if it wasn't for you. Your heartbeat is so important to contributing to this world right now. And to leave you with, love creates all life through its desire for experience. And we've all heard here how important our experiences are to one another. We cannot have an experience in this life without relationship. And relationships have to do with someone or something. Even an atom cannot create or do anything without another atom. So know how important you are to this world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And I would just like to add that, you know, this project is so important to us that we tried to figure out every possible way that we could, in fact, make a difference in the world by doing what it is that we're doing. And we've added a component that really has excited each one of us because it involves you. For every ticket to the Permission Movement experience that is purchased, we will find a nonprofit organization who caters to women and girls who will get a package, a program package at the end of the experience, filled with each of the presentations and the learnings, the everything. They will receive a digital package of the entire experience, with the exception of the bonuses. The bonuses are saved for you guys, those of you who purchased the tickets. So we want you to join us. We want you to play with us. We want you to grow with us. We want you to experience the movement of giving yourself permission. Permission to be powerful, permission to win, permission to be the best you that you can be. So thank you for joining us today. This has truly been an amazing experience for me. What I have come to understand is that not only is this what ignites my heart, it ignites my life, and this is what my business is. So I'm just in heaven. And I so appreciate each of our co-authors who is able to be here with me today, and each of you who are listening to this recording, whether it's bits and pieces or the whole entire thing. Thank you for playing with us. Come join us in the movement, in the experience, and we'll see you on the other side. Remember, www.permissionmovement.org. Sign up, and we'll be in touch. Thanks. Goodbye, everyone. And with that, I think we are complete.
Yay.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
everybody.
Thank
You
you,
were
everyone.
You were wonderful, Lynn. Good job.
Thank you.
Everybody
Bye.
was great. Yeah. Bye.
Oh, this
Bye.
was so fun.
I love doing this.
Yes.
Joy, joy, joy.